with the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, to allow a shared usage of the towers where there's cell providers who are in fact operating, to allow those whose services are out to share that service. I know they're working on that in real time. That'll give us an opportunity to communicate and give people a venue to link back up and monitor what's going on in their communities, and to gain access to FEMA, Red Cross, the various shelters that are in place. We know that many people were able to get out and go somewhere else to higher ground. But we also know that many people just couldn't afford to, don't have the resources. And that speaks to another issue that infrastructure can help us address. Building up our communities of color, building up our communities where there are people that have been unemployed or underemployed for a very long time, to create some economic equity and parity, to make sure that we are rebuilding communities and building back better, as the president has said in his budget package that we passed last week, and we'll now be discussing it with the Senate. Building back better gives us an opportunity to not only build up physical infrastructure, but also creates opportunities for jobs, job creation, and housing. We know that when we have hurricanes and issues like this, it really highlights the fact of the inequities that are out there and the assistance that's needed.
Absolutely. You know, everybody keeps talking about 16 years ago when New Orleans was picking up the pieces from Hurricane Katrina, but Ida also has a lot of issues that you're trying to deal with now, and back then, 16 years ago, they didn't have COVID. You're also dealing with that now. So tell us, you know, how it is compared to that storm and how it is now having to deal with these issues of the virus that is obviously, you know, affecting people who are in shelters and that sort of place.
Absolutely. Listen, 16 years ago, Katrina was a horrendous storm. But, you know, yesterday, Ida was a terrible storm, and is still the remnants of a terrible path of a storm that hit at a Category 4, that hovered at a Category 3 for a very long time, and continued to travel through the state and continues to travel north as we speak, causing damage and heavy rains, no longer as a major hurricane, but still wreaking havoc, and leaving a lot of damage in its path in Louisiana. That, on top of the fact that you're correct, we are also suffering through a nationwide, a worldwide pandemic, where we have strains on our hospitals, strains on our facilities, strains on housing, because many people have been out of work and thus unemployed. Because of that, many people have found themselves out of work and in shelters because they either lost their homes or had no homes. So, you know, if you factor all that together, the hurricane is yet another significant danger and problem for us. We're already heavy laden with COVID. We thought we were kind of coming out of the dark area with COVID, and then the second surge or the fourth surge rather of Delta variant comes out, and now we are yet again in a very challenging place where our hospitals are full. Many of our hospitals suffer damage, as you mentioned earlier, and we are quickly trying to get resources there. On the ground now, we have troops that are out trying to reach people that may be stuck in their homes, and without communication, it's hard to know where they are. So we're kind of going into the areas where 911 calls were reached, and then building on areas that we suspect people may be to go in to provide resources.
Yeah, we're looking right now, Congressman, I know you're on the phone, but we've been looking at pictures of flooding and the houses and damage and that sort of thing. You know, when you're in other parts of the country, especially places that have never experienced hurricanes, I mean, obviously places like Florida has experienced it, but if you're somewhere in a state that hasn't experienced a hurricane, what can you tell people, one, who might want to help, and two, what it's really like to try to rebuild after that? I mean, when it's just devastation. So first of all, is there any way the rest of us in other parts of the country can help? And is there a way to get assistance there?
Yeah, well, I'll first begin by the first part of your question. I've lived through many, many hurricanes. I'm born and raised in New Orleans. So I've lived through many hurricanes. And typically we would have a little bit more ramp up time. We would know that the storm was coming. We would have several models to look at to determine when and if an evacuation would be necessary or required, or looking to determine which way should we go because we know where the hurricane is headed. This time it happened so fast. It happened so fast that the ability to get on the road and to travel was significantly minimized because timing was so short. And then the people that did get on the road, who had the resources to get on the road, found themselves in gridlock, and adding insult to injury, having shortage of gasoline for the trip. So when the way I would explain it to someone is, you find out that the maze that you have to travel, all the doors are closed. You've got a storm coming, and the minimal places that you can seek refuge are so challenged that it's hard to get to. And usually when we have enough time, you can get out, you can find higher ground. This week it happened really fast. And so to try to explain to somebody what it's like, it's very difficult. You find yourself in your home, huddled together with your family, hoping that there's no tornado or hoping that the winds that blow don't cause the kind of devastation that takes life. But then you lose power. And losing power in Louisiana in the month of August is very, very challenging. It gets extremely hot really, really fast when there's no air conditioning. Food spoils. It's hard to maintain your basic necessities because of the challenges of not having electricity. It's a very difficult thing to go through. And the way that people can help, if people are listening, the best way I would suggest is donate money to the American Red Cross. The American Red Cross does an incredible job of providing resources to people throughout the state. They provide meals, they provide water, they provide shelter, they provide vouchers for people. And I'll also say, be very careful. There's so many good people that are out there that want to help, but there's also scammers out there that may reach out trying to get you to give money to the cause, and they have nefarious ideas. I would encourage you to do so only through very legitimate organizations. People will set up GoFundMes. I'd be very careful.
Yeah, Congressman, thank you so much. Our hearts go out to all of you. We appreciate you joining us. Take care.